How did they sneak you into the building?
Sorry, I did not answer that question.
No,
and this is a problem we have. This is a problem we have.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah, I'll get talking. All right, so we got me in a car at WWE World.
Okay.
I had to change in the car. Not into my wrestling gear. We did that at the building, but I had to change in the car, and it was like I got the most generic hoodie possible. So it was like Las Vegas hoodie or whatever. I had a COVID mask. I had sunglasses. I looked ridiculous. It was like covered head to toe. And honestly, and I wasn't even in the betting odds. You know, there was an other category where you would have to manually put in Joe Hendry. That's how secretive this was. It was it was not one of the standard options. There were about 10 options, and I was in other.
People really thought it'd be Nick Aldis. It would have made a lot of sense there. Mm-hmm. Of course, he has an incredible pedigree in the ring. Yeah. That one made a lot of sense, right? So people were like, man.
And actually on that topic, this is how cool Nick is. Nick came along to help with this moment. Like, so he invested his time to give input about, you know, what we could do. So the fact that Nick gave his time to help that moment, that's how cool Nick is.
There were also like, oh, maybe it's Rusev. He's probably returning. Maybe it's Malachi Black. We know that there's been these vignettes for him. You're right. You're way down the list.
Yeah.
Which makes this even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was very intense, you know, because it was like from speaking to people backstage at the Rumble, they told me it'll be over in a flash. So I'm going into WrestleMania knowing that's the case. I know I'm going to go in there and it's going to be over in an instant.
So you get into the building, they've snuck you into the building, they take you to some room away from everybody else. So the locker room doesn't even know you're there.
Yes.
Then who comes in to, you know, be like, all right, you're up in an hour or two or whatever?
Just different staff members. So it was just different members of WWE personnel that were keeping me updated.
Did you see Randy at all before the show?
Again, there's peeling back the curtain.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
So you go out there.
Yeah.
What's that moment like when your music hits?
It was, so at Rumble, it was like, the way I describe it to people is putting on a VR headset. So it's like, it just doesn't feel real. If you've ever had like VR to experience like, you know, somewhere you haven't been before, it's like the uncanny valley, right? The people are just dots at a certain point. And you're just going, how can 70,000 people get into one building and they're making noise? There's something, it's just, I can't describe the feeling. That's one thing. But WrestleMania, when it's a singles match against Randy Orton in his 20th WrestleMania, I'm in the back watching the video package and I'm like, oh, this is a big deal. It was then I was going, whoa, you know. So I walk out, and the way I described the noise and it was like a literal physical wave of energy. It felt like when I was walking to the ring, it was almost like this physical wave, just like of positivity, almost like pushing against me as I was walking down to the ring. It felt like something that very few human beings have been privileged enough to experience, but it was everything I wanted it to be.
There was a moment during you walking down the ramp where you kind of turn around and you look at everything. What are you thinking in that moment?
It's hard to say. I think I was just trying to be as present as possible. And that's something else I learned from Triple H. He was on a podcast with Tim Ferriss, I think.
I love that episode.
Yeah.
And that's from years ago.
Yeah. And so Tim actually compiled a bunch of his interviews into a book called Tools for Titans. Yeah. You know.
Of course.
Yeah.
Love that book.
And what they talk about in that book is about the importance of being present. So whatever you're doing with if I'm here, I'm talking to you. You know, if I'm in the ring, I'm focused on the best performance. If I'm with family, I'm trying to be present in the moment. So that I've really carried that with me. I try and be as present as possible. So that's what I'm thinking. Just trying to enjoy it, you know.
There's a moment after the match where Randy's sharing some words with you.
Yeah.
What's he saying?
So, what I got from Randy is that I was, you know, very humbled by the fact that he was really happy with the moment because it's his 20th WrestleMania. You know, like I remember being 15 years old, walking home from school, talking to Randy Orton about my friends. Talking to Randy. We can cut that, right? So I remember walking home from school, talking to my friends about Randy Orton, right? And to go from that moment to actually wrestling him at WrestleMania, I texted that friend from school that had that conversation. I just texted him the graphic of me and Randy standing opposite each other, and he was just like, proud of you, big guy. It's insane. It's insane.
What's he saying? Because he's pointing at you, he's pointing at everybody.
Yeah. So they actually released the verbiage of what he said. And he was basically saying, he was basically saying, I appreciate you being part of this moment, and you showed up for these people, and you showed up for me. And then, well, you know what happened next.
Did he plan to do your move? Did he plan to do the spin around?
Again, I don't know how much, but I'll do it a little bit.
Give me a little.
So I'll tell you this. He didn't know. He was like, should I not? He goes, let's call out there. He's like, if I'm feeling it, I'll do it. And to me, that was all right. He had a good time,